Well, hello all, Prepper Pam here. I just got done picking a bunch of spinach out of my garden. I set some aside for dinner tonight, but with this, I'm going to show you guys how to make your own super green powder. The kind of powder that you add to your smoothies and stuff like that. Very simple. You make sure your spinach and stuff is clean. I cut most of the stems off when I'm out in the garden, as you can see. All I'm going to do is lay this on my dehydrator trays. I have parchment paper down here, and you don't want to get it too thick. But you do want to have something under it because this gets so small, sometimes it falls through. So what I'm just going to do now is get this all on my racks. And then I'm going to dehydrate it. And there's so much water content in this. It just takes a few hours. And some of it's a little wet from when I washed it off, so that'll be okay. So let me get the rest of the trays done. Okay, so I have all the spinach in the dehydrating trays. I removed every other tray because it's so thick. I really wanted air to go through. Once it starts shrinking down, I'll put the other trays in. You want to get this really crisp, and you don't have to use just spinach. You can use lettuce, you can use dandelion greens, you can use kale, anything you want to use. But remember, certain things are very strong. So if you're going to mix them with the yogurt and your bananas and things like that, just remember, or you might want to look up which greens have the strongest flavor. So I'm going to put these, they're in the dehydrator. I have a Weston. It's kind of a cheap model. This is my third Weston. I go through them about every other year. If you don't have a dehydrator, don't freak out about it. Use your oven. Or you can just put some screens together, a couple window screens together. Make sure one's on top of the other so flies and stuff don't get your things, and set them outside in the heat of the sun. There's lots of ways to dehydrate your stuff. So according to this, I'm going to do the herbs. So it says 95 to 125. So I'm going to turn it on. It's kind of loud because this is on its last leg. And I'm going to turn it to 125. And it should be done by sometime tonight. It's like 3 o'clock right now. So I'm thinking around 8 or 9 it might be done. But I'll pick up the video then. Okay, so I'm online here, and this is the organic greens, the powder that you can add to your smoothies. All of these, look at the prices, $60, $30, and you don't know what's in them. That's the scary thing. You don't know what's in these things. I mean, some of them could be, I'm sure they're all wonderful, but when you make your own, you know exactly what is in it. Okay, now it's all dehydrated, and I want you to listen to this. You hear that? That's the crunchy sound that you need to make sure that your spinach is dehydrated. I've already started putting some in. This is a coffee bean grinder, a Mr. Coffee, but we don't use it. I only bought it for like nuts and spices and stuff, and I like it really fine. Now, I have a food processor. It doesn't get it fine enough when we put it in our smoothies. And this does a pretty good job. All right, now you tap it down. Look at that powder. That's the powder you want to have for your smoothies. Right here. Now, I don't know about you, but when we went to go look for powder for our smoothies, it was anywhere from $25 to $45 to $62. And I didn't know what was in it. It said organic, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe anybody anymore. I make my own. So this was just spinach. You don't have to use just spinach. Let me see if I can do this without making a huge mess. There we go. Made a little bit of a mess, but I'm going to pick that up. So I'm going to put some more in. This is all you do. If you don't have a coffee bean grinder, if you don't have a food processor, use a blender. If you don't have a blender, put all this in a Ziploc bag and use a rolling pin or use a meat tenderizer. This makes it so much easier. And you know what's in it. It's just pure spinach. You can do dandelion greens, you can do your own kale, anything you want. Just so you know that what's going into your body. Let me check this again. Oop, see, needs to be done again. So, anyway, this is what our spinach powder looks like. It's absolutely 1000% perfect. There's no stems. Everything is just absolutely perfect in here. Make sure you mark your jar so you know what green is in it. You don't want to put spinach in when you're reaching for kale. You can even use dehydrated dandelion greens. Like I said before, if you don't have a dehydrator, put them in an oven. Or take 2 screens from an old window and put the greens in between the screens and set them out on top of your car. That way nothing can get to it and they can't fly away from the wind. There's a will, there's a way. Live within your means and know what's in your food. And if y'all have any questions, shoot me an email. Happy smoothies. Pepper Pam out. Okay, I forgot to show you how I seal everything in these jars. And this is my food saver. And this way you don't have to worry about the freshness and you do not have to put in an O2 packet. And that's it. Let's hope it's done. Let's see here. Sorry for that. And there we go. Nice and sealed. You don't have to put a ring on it if you don't want to, but leaving it without the ring lets you know if the seal has popped. So every time you go to get some kale for a smoothie, I just reseal it with my seal-a-meal. Anyway, if you have any questions, shoot me an email. Pepper Pam out.